The times we say we can't, that mindset that keeps us blocked from what we want, is a thing we need to challenge because I don't really see it as a possibility to not be capable. And I don't think we've come here on this planet to limit ourselves to what is in front of us. Because in order to get what we want, we need to look ahead of the blocks and the challenges that come. There were a few times, right, that, some decisions that weren't aligned with what I wanted and taking a step forward when not knowing what's to come. Oftentimes, these don't lead to a great path. But the ones that do are the ones I've actually contemplated on and sat with enough to know if it's actually taking me somewhere or if it's pulling me backwards to old versions of myself. And if you're in this kind of phase of whether you should do this, whether you should not, whether you should change a path, maybe change your career, maybe leave this relationship, or if you are in any transition of your life, then this might probably be something that you want to listen to. So let's dive in. The path that we choose may not always be the right one for us. And the only way that you can figure that out is by really sitting down and contemplating on what do you value in your life? What is so important to you in life? What steps can you take right now? And can you actually list those things out? So if I were to ask you what are the things that you want, what you want to maybe achieve, or what's a goal, maybe something you want to focus on, but you don't quite maybe have a, clear vision of what that is, and that's only because you haven't thought about it. When you think about the things you want, it's not enough to just have it in your head. What I've learned is to put it down, write it down on either my notepad, on maybe in my journal, any ways that can probably then help you reflect and look back at it and see if it makes sense to you. Some of the times you would write something or you think about something and you write it down, it doesn't make sense at all. You've either heard it from someone, so you've read it somewhere, and you think that's the right thing to do. But the right thing only comes when you're authentic about what you want, meaning that you are honest about where you are and where you want to go. So it doesn't really help to think only about it, but to write it down to see what things you can action it on and what you can base it on. And is there a limit to that goal? And are you heading somewhere with that goal? If not, then you need to probably write down or draw down a roadmap to where that decision is leading you, or where that misalignment in the relationship is, where it's leaving you stuck in your life. So, stuckness is a state, it's not our permanent reality. It's not a reality. Your current situation is because of choices that you took, and maybe bad choices too, that, well, I don't really like to call it bad choices, but maybe choices you had to take and you didn't have a choice. And that's what you needed to do in that moment, that now you're paying the consequences of it. There were times in my life where I made decisions and it was really out of chaos. I couldn't see through what's coming, or I couldn't understand where this is leading me. And I was a little bit, immature in my decisions, which is a forgiving act. I don't think it's helpful to beat yourself down for the decisions that you made. You may be paying the consequences of it now and feeling bad, but that state you can't live with your whole life. You have to understand there is forgiveness in whichever path that you choose. I'm only saying this because I know what it's like to be stuck in kind of like a, if I were to describe it metaphorically, in a hole that you dug yourself. out of maybe your state, or maybe you weren't in a good state in your life, mental state or health state, that then now you're looking back and seeing if it was the best choice. Well, first thing is first, you cannot really change that. There's nothing you can change about it, all right? You can't change that situation. The only way is that you would probably have to revisit and see so that you don't make the same choices again and again. So I hope this is making sense so far. But by going into the past and trying to change it, it's not going to lead you anywhere. That's absolutely, that's the certainty of change, is that you cannot really do anything about it. And what you're responsible of now is to see maybe how you can improve it, how you can go about your life, knowing the things that happen to then bring it in your present state and current state to know that this, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And a part of forgiving yourself is to realize that it's okay, that you messed it up at some point, that maybe you knew, but you acted that you didn't. Life happens. So by not forgiving yourself, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping anybody, actually. And you're sending and signaling messages to your body and yourself that I'm not safe to try and make mistakes. That's literally it. That you cannot make mistakes. You're going to try something new and you're going to mess it up. This is kind of the self-talk that continuously goes on if you're living in guilt or shame of the past of what have occurred. So journaling for me have been really helpful to write down the things I maybe have said, things I've done, and to realize that compassion is the way, that love is the way, that coming back to myself and recognizing that it's okay that I messed things up. It's really a part of conditioning again, that we've learned if we mess it up, life is going to be dark. It's not going to be great. I'm going to be left miserable. And these are all kind of conditioned way of thinking, which you want to step out of. So to step out of that is to realize that you messed up, you done what you done, people have done what they've done, and the only way to move through that state is to realize that you're not stuck. It's just a story that is happening. Sure, there may be times you were stuck and maybe you didn't really have good guidance in your life. And it's good to sit there and acknowledge that. But that shouldn't be stopping you from whatever it is that you want to pursue or whatever relationship that you want to go into. If that stops you, then there needs to be, you need to break that cycle, or else you're continuing to repeat that pattern again and again and again. And you're not forgiving yourself regardless. So, to start on that journey is to recognize that that happened, to have that state of acceptance, and to know that next time you'll do better. Next time there's gonna be another opportunity. Always. Like there always is another opportunity. You just have to see through it, see through the stuckness, or past the stuckness, I'd say. And then through that motion of passing, you can think clearly. You would be in a better grounded state. And to be in that state, or to get yourself to that state, is either through meditation or, walks in nature. I know this have been really helpful for me to navigate challenges or things that have been happening, is to first have a state, have a good mental state to, be able to sit and process it through. Or even moving my body. Yoga has been one of the tools that I live by. It can be that, or it can be really anything that can move your body, energize you, dancing is a really powerful way, or simply just walking out in nature or journaling down. So find what fits best for you, and through that, you'll be able to move through that experience or that state of stuckness that your mind may be convincing you of. Some people would just accept and say, you know what, I'm actually stuck. I don't think I'm going to take action or do anything anyways because I am stuck. But that's another conditioning that you're creating excuses for not moving forward, and that's not helping you get to where you want to go. Why I'm saying this in, or I'm saying this in a compassionate way, because I know staying stuck is not the answer. It will never move you forward in life, and it can never lead you to anywhere, really. It will never improve your life by stating that you're stuck. You can say that you are, and then the actions that you're going to take in your life will stem or root from the state of stuckness. So if you're in a state of stuckness, you're probably going to do things that are not healthy for you, like maybe eating unhealthy, maybe staying up late, maybe numbing yourself, maybe substance use, maybe overeating, overdosing of something. And then that leads you to that state again. So you see, it's like a loop, it's a pattern because that choice is coming from the state of stuckness. So when you're feeling stuck, you're taking that decision to stay stuck. I hope you're following through, or hope that this is making sense so far. So, to move out of that state is to get yourself in a better state. Breath work, meditation, maybe in a sense of ease and calm where your mind is focused solely on solution and what can I do now. So letting yourself process all this and acknowledging that you're stuck is important. But the next phase of it is that's the that's the whole point. That's the most crucial step. The second phase, after you've accepted and moved through that stuckness, and then through that state, you can decide what you want and what's the best thing that you could do now with what you know, what you have. And feel free to play with this exercise. It doesn't have to be the way that I said it. But what helped navigate this is really getting out of that state and moving your body. That's always the answer. Because your body would send you signals. It would know, like when you're anxious, mm, when you start to feel unease in your body, it sends you the signals either through your abdominals, maybe your shoulders start to tense, so you might feel like tightness, or just even the raise of your shoulders here is also a signaling. It's also communicating to you. Maybe stuckness or raspiness in your voice, maybe um, your skin start to break out. So you start to see that your body is always actively communicating, but when you get up into your head, you start to analyze that it's either this or that, and you start to excuse yourself for your state when it's really the matter of, are you making a really aligned decision now where you're going to move forward with that decision, or it's going to hold you back. So always listening to your body, right? And yoga is one of the powerful ways to be mindful of that, because yoga is simply union and awareness. Once you move through that phase, and once you are, being at ease with your body, and that can look different for everybody. But I'm here to share what worked for me and how I think the world would heal if we are more in touch with our sensations than the stories that our mind makes. And to align with that more than we are listening and believing all the stories that the mind is telling us. To let yourself feel the feelings, let it surface up. And after the surfacing, you can just shake it off. Just like animals, right? They shake off that energy. I don't know if you've seen that video, but there was a video of can't remember what animal it was, but I think it was in a state of like tension and um fear, that then you'd watch the animal shake its body to release that. So we can learn so much from nature and animals themselves. So to learn how to live that life is through observation of what's happening inside of us, than just to analyze and try to be logical about the perfect way to live, which doesn't really make sense. So I invite you to try this practice, and maybe every single day, maybe set maybe a timer on your phone of mm, checking in with yourself. How do I feel? What will nourish my body? Asking the right questions. Um, Not really looping on, I'm stuck, what can I do? This is crazy. Just feeding into that stuckness. You want to feed into mm, the letting out state, the letting go. So I hope this helps. Let me know in the comment section. And I'll talk to you soon in the next one.